Good morning. It's May 17th, 2018. It's about 10:05 a.m. and this is a meeting of the Streets and Sidewalks Committee to talk about some issues. And to my right is Councilman Brock Heath, myself as chair, Bob Phillips. And we're going to talk about a design agreement regarding the Riverside Drive Phase 2 reconstruction project. And I don't see Mrs. Rhodes here, so Mr. Titterington, I assume you're going to talk about the staff report, etc.
I will try.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So we are asking for a recommendation to council to authorize the agreement with LJB, and that is for the design work on Phase 2. Phase 1 was the work that was done 15 years ago, I think, between Adams and the entrance to Riverside Cemetery. Phase 2 would then take it from the entrance, approximately the entrance, out to the area of Orchard Drive. We expect, we're phasing this, we think that eventually there'll be 3 phases that will take it to just north of the entrance to Duke Park, well, not just north, but to where the current
Almost to the corporate limits.
Well, to the old lot line split between Duke Park and the Hewells Camp property. And then, depending on what goes on at the Hewells Camp property, whether there's a 4th phase or not will be determined. And of course, that's all dependent on what the design shows the construction costs may be. We may be able to do a little bit further, a little less, split it up into 2 phases rather than 3 phases. But for now, based on the information that we have, we're thinking 3 phases. And so this would involve some widening, some inspection and replacement of utility lines. We will explore the feasibility of extending bike trail off-road, so it would not be an on-road bike lane, on the south side of Riverside, to have a direct connection along Riverside between Duke Park, Community Park, and then to the riverfront trail. So that will all be explored during the design phase with LJB. The amount is over what we anticipated in the budget. However, we can use utility funds to make up the difference without going to a reappropriation. LJB was selected after doing some requests for proposals, which you have to do with the design firms up front and then come to you. So it's the opposite way we handle when we do construction bids. So they've been vetted, they've been researched, and they were the lowest and best bid.
Okay. I'm sorry, again, the northernmost part or the end point of this project again is what? Refresh.
We're anticipating it'll be from the area of Riverside and the community park entrance there on Riverside, west to approximately Orchard Lane.
Right, okay. Okay. Is this, in that general area, are there any county or township residences on that portion, or are they?
They are, however, in the right-of-way, and that's something that the design is going to help us reveal where exactly the lines are. But most, if not all, of the right-of-way is city right-of-way.
Okay. In the future, I would call it the 3rd or 4th phases, is there a need to go east towards the railroad tracks along that roadway fronting?
As far as widening?
No, sewer, additional sewer, water.
Oh, we would explore that at that time. You're talking about that triangle, the county-owned property there. That's something that, we'd be talking 2023, 24 by that time, if it stays on phase and something doesn't accelerate.
I'm just trying to put together some past conversations you and I have had about the need to, potential need for sewer water to go underneath the railroad beds and things.
Right.
Is that something that is still kind of a nebulous thing?
It is, and I believe it is on the, it's marked and mapped on our long-range plan.
Right. Okay.
So we know it's there, and at that point, maybe even in what would be the third phase or phase 4, if we know that there's going to be a phase 5, we may start that process, because that is a long process to talk to the railroads and
Right.
get permission and figure out how to bore underneath the railroad, if that's still the most feasible option.
Any questions, Mr. Heath?
Yeah, I think the only question I had is what were the factors that caused it to go over budget, or past what our budget we thought it was going to be?
Just, it's, what we do is we send out a solicitation for RFPs or RFQs, and then staff sits down with each one of the proposers, engineers.
Okay.
And then as they go through the discussion of how they're going to approach it, what the elements of the project are, then and only then, after that point, when we narrow it down, do we get the costs. It's a different way. It's the opposite way, like I said, of how we open sealed bids for construction bids. You look at the qualifications, the experience, and the approach, narrow it down, and then we get the cost estimates from the preferred bidder. So it's one of the last steps.
All right.
And so when they came back, this is the number they came to, based on the work that they're going to provide.
No. So it wasn't some issue that came up that was going to cost more than we thought. Our budget was just
There was
low at it,
no
so I
there's no
guess-
single
Right.
single thing that stuck out. No.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. That's all I got.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience have any questions? Mrs. Baker is coming forward.
Will Riverside, or Orchard Drive be tied into the water sewer at this point, or sewer at this point in time?
We will be looking at that as part of the design to tie them in. I don't have the utility maps here, so I'm not sure what is already in, but I believe Orchard already has utilities.
They have water but not sewer.
Okay, so if it's feasible, if there's a possibility, we're going to look at that as part of it.
Okay. And then,
Because there may be elevation issues that it may not work to be hooked into the sewer because that's gravity. So LJB will have to look at all of that when they're doing the design work.
okay. And phase 1 was the design, the initial design work?
Yeah, we're calling this phase 2 because phase 1 was the work that was done between Adams and Community Park entrance 15 years ago.
Okay.
Longer than that. So technically, this is phase 2.
I see, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I had actually assumed that Orchard was already in some sort of connection. Are they septic tanks? Do you know that area?
Just saying yes.
Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions by anyone in the audience? Okay. What is your pleasure on this?
Safe on board.
Okay. It's the unanimous decision by the committee, with the two of us here, to proceed as staff is recommending in the report.
And we're not asking for emergency.
Right. Right. Okay. Any other items to come before Streets and Sidewalks? Then we are